Good evening, everybody. Welcome by another discussion. So tonight we're going to be talking about eating disorder. Eating disorder affects individuals across various racial, ethnical backgrounds, and including us Black communities. While research on eating disorder has historically focused on predominantly white population, there's a growing recognition of the prevalence and unique changes faced or challenges by individuals in the Black communities. However, discussion around eating disorders in Black communities are still evolving, and that's a good thing because we need to try to break the barriers that we're going more out there to try to help ourselves. And of course, more research need to be done because you also have those groups that are more interested in doing research and also create more awareness to better understand and address the complexities involved and encourage open dialogue, reducing stigma, promoting cultural sensitivity, approaches to prevention and treatment, and all those are very essential. Tonight we are going to be talking with Miss Jessica about eating disorder in the Black community. So, welcome and thank you for being here present with us. Before we continue, just want to do one announcement that tomorrow, as always, Unity and Solidarity TV is going to have another great topic. So, you can tune in on the YouTube face Unity and Solidarity. So, let me dive in. Welcome, Jessica. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for accepting the invitation and for the willingness to talk about this topic because, hey, it is
Yeah.
another topic that is very important. I don't know how it is over there, but here on the islands, it's one of the topics that we don't really talk about it. We keep it in the house, and you said it before. We're dealing with however we know how to deal it, and forgetting that there is help out there to help us. So,
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Jessica, and I am in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm in the States. I'm sure you all can hear from my accent. People, they've told me about my accent, even here in Georgia. I'm originally from North Carolina.
Okay.
But yeah, so I am a licensed professional counselor, and I enjoy working with eating disorders. In eating disorder population, I've worked with them for over 7, 8 years now, from residential all the way to now outpatient private practice environments, and
Mhm.
yeah, it's been very challenging but awesome, and I love sharing it about it in our community because we simply don't know. Another added thing is being or getting into eating disorders. I have, or I'm Atlanta's beauty therapist. So you may see on my tagline on my name, the beauty therapist. I'm also a professional makeup artist where I help women embrace their own beauty. And that's a cool way where I've been able to connect what I do in therapy and healing in that way. So I love it. It's my creative side, and I get to do creative
Yeah.
things. So yeah.
Yeah. So you like you said, you're combining two things in one. That's
Mm.
so how do I have before we go on the eating disorder because I like this beauty therapist part. So how do I have to see it for me that while you're teaching somebody to do makeup, you might be talking about something that might be going on with them?
No, so what I do or what I'm going to be rolling out in 2024, I'm super
Mhm.
excited about. This is my beauty and body confidence intensive. So it's simply 4 weeks. And we actually address beauty, decolonize beauty standards, as well as actually help the women that join understand their own beauty. So we actually deal with beauty goals, and there's a bit of a twist there, but it really gets down to the meat and potatoes of the foundation of how you see yourself. We deal
Mhm.
with comparison. We actually talk about how to care for yourself in skin and go in depth there. And then the last session is actually teaching you how to apply makeup and care for yourself, that fits you for your face. A lot of times we don't even know our own face. We just look on what's on social media and try to apply it there,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't work because their face isn't our face. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate what I do in the sense of I don't tell people that they're beautiful, but why they get to discover why they're beautiful, and
Mm-hmm.
from their facial features to their face shape and all those different things in between to actually understand their own beauty.
Nice, 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 nice. I like that. And especially because we do like when it comes to makeup and using and making ourselves more beautiful than we already are. So yeah, that's
Mhm.
nice. That's interesting.
I love it. It's so much fun.
Yes. And the more, because you like something, it's you put more passion in it too. And then when you go and teach it to other people just feel it as well. And
Oh yeah, oh yeah. They absolutely love it. My clients, they love it. People that come to me just for the intensive, they love it, and it's just another way of seeing things in a different perspective.
mm-hmm, yeah, yeah, that's true. Okay, so the eating disorder, um
Yes,
how did you, let me say, how did you decided to become uh
specialized.
therapist specialist? Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, interesting enough, my first position here in Georgia was an eating disorder facility. That's how I got started. I didn't even know that that was something I would get into. And as
Mhm,
I've got familiar with it, understood it more, helping these sweet, sweet clients that was just trying to navigate life and figure things out. I began to have a passion for it, and not only that, but it caused me to explore my own relationship with my body and food, and then I was already doing a little bit of the beauty aspect, and it just all came together and tied in. So
mhm,
now, years later, here I am, and then also noticing that there was not a lot. We're very underrepresented and underrepresented and underdiagnosed or
mhm,
misdiagnosed in a lot of different ways. So it became very important to me recognizing these things and being standing in the gap there. So
mhm.
even what you mentioned in your intro about it can be seen or said a white woman disease, but you're absolutely right. There's not enough research, and it has been named or thought of as white woman diseases because they had access and resources to being able
Yeah.
to get treatment. It wasn't because we didn't have it or we weren't struggling with certain things. It was because
Mhm.
they had the access and the resources to get the therapy and get the support, and of course they were the ones that were researched or looked
Yeah.
like they're the ones that had it, but it's not true. So
Mm-hmm. And
mhm.
then, so when you comparing to when you started working to now, do you see a difference in people coming more now for treatment, or
I
it was
do.
like that before already?
It wasn't that before. Actually, my first client that I experienced was actually African.
Okay.
So that was very interesting. I was like, oh wow, that was appalling to me. But of course, in these different facilities, it's she was probably one out of 50 that I saw.
Mm-hmm.
So it was
Okay.
just mind blowing that she was the first one, but
Mm-hmm.
overall, I don't see a lot of us, but the more I do trainings as well at different places in the community around eating disorders and with therapists. So I am seeing more therapists recognize it, and then they get to refer to me, or I get to help them find placement in different
Mm-hmm.
places. So that's really awesome that other therapists are interested in getting the training or understanding how to assess and catch it quicker than later.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And is there a difference in treatment?
Oh yeah. So outpatient treatment, of course, it's one-to-one therapy, where you see your therapist once a week, and usually you
Mm-hmm.
see that around maintenance or trying to understand or assess what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's PHP, which is partial hospitalization,
Mm-hmm.
IOP, which is similar, but what is it? It's only 3 days instead of 5 days. And
Mm-hmm.
then residential, where the client actually stays in the facility because it has gotten that severe, where their body is not stabilized to, or they're not stabilized, and they need 24-hour monitoring to be able to support them to eat and nourish their body.
Okay. Tell us, explain us actually what eating disorder is before we continue. Then we
Yeah.
understand too when you're saying a
Oh
certain
yeah,
thing.
absolutely. Okay, okay. So, well, first off, the way I'm gonna, not that y'all are not smart by any means, but I break this down to anyone in this way. When you say eating disorder, because I feel like that sounds really scary, the way I like to explain it is disorder. First off, the basis of that is state of confusion and eating. So confusion in how you eat and nourish your body and take care of your body with food. So the basis of an eating disorder is something, a mental health state, where you struggle with understanding how to care for your body with food, but it affects you psychologically, emotionally, physically, in a lot of different ways. And it essentially is really an internal bully.
Mm, okay. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's indeed a good way of explaining it, and kind of easy to understand
Hmm.
with what
Hmm.
all it can do with you indeed in one a few short sentences. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and I was going to ask add one more thing. There's different types. So just really quick, anorexia is where you restrict from
Mm-hmm.
eating and nourishing your body for majority or very little amounts of food, where it's not
Mm-hmm.
giving enough fuel for your body. Then of course there's bulimia, where there may be what is it, eating large amounts of food and then purging, and that can look in different ways, abusing laxatives over or excessive exercising, of course,
Mm-hmm.
vomiting, and those ways, or restricting in extreme uh, periods of time. And
Mm-hmm.
then there's other ones such as RFID, which you don't hear a lot. RFID is where it's not more so about the body, but your relationship with food, where say someone, I've had a few clients with RFID where they've say choked before, and then they're nervous
Mm-hmm.
about, and it's usually the little kids that I find, they
Okay.
get really they get anxious, so then you kind of have to coach them back into, like, it's okay to eat. And they just they had a scare. I'm putting it lightly, but it's been
Mm-hmm.
severe where they're afraid to eat
Mm-hmm.
certain things. And so say anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating. Binge eating. Actually, I really enjoy working with binge eaters. There's the sweetest thing. It usually have the funniest personalities, but when
Mm-hmm.
you're overeating to the point of uh, overly full, and you're to the point of hurting yourself with food, and not regulating yourself on stopping eating when your body
Mm-hmm.
is telling you to stop.
Okay. 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 And is in our community, which one shows up more often?
Honestly, binge eating for the
Mm-hmm.
most part. I've seen binge eating and bulimia in different
Mm-hmm.
ways, but binge eating is the main one that you would see that I've
Okay.
seen. Mhm.
Yeah. Do you have an idea how that is?
Yeah, because in certain cultures, such as ours,
Mm-hmm.
food is seen as comfort, and then also for what we've seen or what's been normalized is us having the curvy bodies. So having meat on our bones and, having the curves, those things have been acceptable and praised in our community.
Mm-hmm.
So mixed with food is comfort. And, our mama's telling us eat everything that's on our plate, even
Mm-hmm.
when even when we're full,
Yes.
and not understanding our own bodies and what we need, and listening, taking time to listen to our body and what we need, it can definitely go in the realm of, well, this is what I go to for comfort. This is what I go
Mm-hmm.
to for taste. This is it. Of course, our food tastes good. It's flavorful
Mm-hmm.
food. So
Mm-hmm.
with a mix of all those things, yeah, it can
Mm-hmm.
be definitely binge eating.
Yeah. Okay. Besides, I guess, the culture, what can be other challenges and factors that can play a role in our community?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked. That was exactly what I was going to transition to. So, outside of those positive things that we enjoy about food, I actually assess for, if you heard of ACE, the adverse childhood experiences, where
Mm-hmm.
different traumatic experiences someone may have had. So, for example, if someone has had didn't have much food around,
Mm-hmm.
or they essentially weren't cared for in different ways, then that can impact them how they care for themselves or how they eat. And also, a lot of times we're not educated on these things, especially if we're in survival mode, if we are just trying to live another day. The thought of how to eat and care for our bodies, listen to our bodies, all these different things isn't even a thought of. It's just get it
Mm-hmm.
where get in where I can fit in, and
Yeah.
not really understanding ourselves. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a lot of different layers. So trauma can impact someone with having an eating disorder, or it could be the caveat or cause.
Mm-hmm.
Being bullied, being criticized about your body. It can be a lot of various things where social media. I know a lot of cultures look at America, and even being in America, we see the advertisement. Now they're changing things, which is great, but we've had years of programming of white is right, and this is what beauty looks like, and this is
Yeah.
the standard. So that can impact
Mm-hmm.
someone how they see themselves. Well, I don't look like that, so how do I change to look like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That plays indeed a major role. That, yeah, that it creates a lot of challenges for people. Yeah,
Hmm.
and it's a good thing that it started to change, that there's more diversity in it as well. I don't think it's enough, but I guess at least they starting it
They're
to
starting it.
create.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I
That
feel
is
like we're. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, no, no. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm excited that we're noticing these things. So now we're doing our part. Like, how can we make sure it's not going unnoticed, and even seeing mannequins being in normal
Mm-hmm.
or average bodies, and advertisement, and different skin tones and colors, and and this is an array of things. So from colorism to ageism, and all these different things that showing skin, and stretch marks and wrinkles, like all these different things of like what makes us human. Like
Yeah.
our body moves, and we have fat like that comes,
Mm-hmm.
we need it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, especially now that we indeed, like you said, we starting to pay more and more attention to ourselves. We trying to be, you can say, healthy, or accepting our body, and that we not taking everything anymore with what other people saying. Yes,
Hmm.
it's good that we seeing it portrayed in the different medias as well. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Connected to that, what can be some of the stigmas or misconceptions?
Yeah, a lot of this is people of color don't get eating disorders. Like, what do you mean? And a lot of it is, we think we can think, oh, we love our curves. We love our we love our skin, we love these things, and that's not
Mhm.
always the case. A
Yeah.
lot of the stigma is it doesn't happen to us, we're okay, we're strong, all of these different things, and the fear of appearing weak if we need help. So
Mm-hmm.
it becomes a lot of stigma around avoiding feeling trying to avoid feeling less than strong,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
staying in the space of, I just have to get through this, and not only I have to get through this, but I have to get through this on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And also, when you don't hear about it or it's underrepresented, it's like, how do you even know or recognize that it's even
Yeah.
a
Correct. Correct. And even when you're feeling like there is something that might not be how it's supposed to be, you, because you don't see it out in the world or they not talk about it, you might start feeling like you are the only one there.
not
And then yeah, so where
yeah.
do I have to go to talk about,
Mhm.
at least talk about it?
Yeah, yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm,
It's
mhm.
it's not easy. It's not
Yeah,
easy. It's
yeah.
yeah, it's a real challenge. And then when we're talking about treatment, how do you treat somebody like that, or how do you help somebody like that? And also in general, is it treatable, as in that at one day you can say, okay, I don't have it anymore, I can eat everything I want or not eat?
Yeah, yeah. So it's very treatable. It's definitely a journey in recovery. The thing, and also eating disorders is under the addiction category when it comes to treatment, because it's doing something over and over again to cope in a unhealthy way. So clearly it's not a substance necessarily, but it is a external coping mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
So I treat it mainly with narrative therapy for us, just
Mm-hmm.
because it's the story we've come to believe about ourselves and about our bodies and food when it comes to that. So I
Mm-hmm.
use a lot of narrative therapy. I use relational and interpersonal work. So group work is very important to me when I'm treating clients with eating disorders as well, so they don't feel alone and they don't feel
Mm-hmm.
isolated. A lot of the work that we do together is really understanding their perspective and beliefs about themselves and their um, bodies in relation to what they've been told and what they believe. So
Mm-hmm.
really unteasing all the confusion, entangleness, and honestly, sometimes or a lot of times, self hatred about yourself
Mm-hmm.
to hopefully become to appreciation, peace, and that healthy love for yourself and caring for yourself in that way.
Yeah.
Now, in regards to other facets when it comes to eating disorders or treatment, is we have a care team. So
Mm-hmm.
I do have to, or I mandate, or I have to,
Mm-hmm.
for ethics and make sure the client is safe physically, if they are outpatient, to meet with the dietitian, like eating disorder dietitian specifically. The difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist is a dietitian, eating disorder dietitian, of course, has a specialty, and
Mm-hmm.
a dietitian has a master's in their field versus what is it? I hate to compare it, but just to give you an
Mm-hmm.
idea,
Yeah.
a nutritionist to dietitian, the way I like explain it, is like a life coach to a therapist. So similar things, but two different lanes in the depth
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or knowledge based. So yeah, that's part of it. And then of course their primary care doctor, making sure that their vitals are stable, and even sometimes a psychiatrist as well. I did want to mention this. A lot of times, I know I'm throwing out eating disorders,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes it's disordered eating versus an eating disorder, and people are like, well, what's the difference between the two? The difference between the two is the severity of it. So if someone with an eating disorder is experiencing extreme discomfort, and it's completely taking over their entire life, and
Mm-hmm.
it's rumination, and they can't function and have social anxiety and can't eat in front of other people, all these different variable things,
Mm-hmm.
would really impacting the functionality of their life. It may be more in depth in the eating disorder, whereas disordered eating is still not great, or you don't have a healthy relationship with food, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not as severe as it's impacting the your overall functionality of your life. And I just want to,
Mm.
because sometimes that can get confusing.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned that by eating disorder, at one point it can take over your life.
Hmm.
Um, how long, let me say in general, how long will it take before it kind of like starts taking over your life, or what can be, let's say me as standing outside of the person's life, what can be the signs for me to see that okay, that person might have an eating disorder, it's starting to take over their lives.
Yeah, so honestly, you don't know. You don't. So
Mm-hmm.
it's, you can notice certain things. So they may isolate, or they may meet up. Like, say if you have a friend, and
Mm-hmm.
you and this is if you're paying close attention, and still it they're very smart. The eating disorder is very smart on navigating things. So say you have a friend and you want to meet up with them, and you want to meet up for lunch, and they always avoid eating out with you. Or if they are eating with you, they're moving around their food, all these different things that you may notice rather than them actually eating. But outside of that, there's a lot of isolation. There's a lot of depression and anxiety. You will start to see certain things of them withdrawing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I want to say weight um, gain or loss, and
Mm-hmm.
the fluctuation of that, but honestly, weight is not always an indicator of an eating disorder. So I'm very
Okay.
careful when I'm saying that, because someone can um, be my size and have atypical anorexia, where atypical anorexia is where they are restricting, but they are in a larger body, and
Okay.
but their heart is failing if they were to go to the doctor and get their vitals checked. So
Mm-hmm.
you can really tell by someone's size, and there's other indicators, but a lot of times you notice them body checking, and they may wear baggy clothes to cover up their body. They don't like um, clothes touching them. I mean, or the close fitting
Touch the skin.
um, on their skin, or you may notice different things, like maybe their nails or their hair is brittle. There's just different aspects that you may see. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
thing with us, our skin and our hair is amazing. So
Mm.
you can't see it as much with us. That's another thing. And
Yeah.
also, if you were to ask someone and you don't know how to navigate through certain questions, you ask them how are they eating, they're like, I'm eating healthy. They'll say the same
Mm-hmm.
thing that someone that's in wellness would say. So it's definitely a specialty in the sense of understanding how to assess things. And I mean, and also I don't mind sharing with you and with your audience, a actually it's called a eat altitude attitudes test. If
Mm-hmm.
someone is interested in, like, I want to see where I'm at on this scale, and
Yeah.
see if I'm experiencing some of these things. But
Mm-hmm. That would be
definitely,
great.
it's definitely something that is you can't see just by looking or even talking to someone off gate.
Yeah. Because I can imagine indeed that you have to be very careful, like you said, with it, how you ask questions, what type of
Mhm.
questions you asking. Because yeah, because of all the information out there, they might be very clever to give you the correct
Oh,
answer.
oh yeah. Oh, very quick. And I had to you have to dig in deep. And honestly, that's why we have a team because they're like, "Oh, I'm doing great and I can exercise." And it's like, no, you can't have your head, you can't put your head behind what is it? You have to keep your head above your heart. So for those that like
Mm.
yoga, it's like, no, you're gonna get dizzy and faint. So, but they're like, I can exercise. No, that's not true. You don't have enough,
Yeah.
you don't have enough fuel to do exercise. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And indeed, now it comes in how important it is to have a team of different discipline to indeed assist you with really figuring out if and
Mm-hmm.
how. Yeah. And then the clients, do they come by you but out of themselves, or are they referred by maybe a doctor or
Both, both. Some are like, oh, I didn't realize this is an issue. Now I need the specialty.
mm-hmm.
And the thing about it, the eating disorder, I'm not just talking about eating your eating and your body. I'm talking about a lot of different things. I have clients where they're they see that their I like to say the eating disorder voice gets a little bit louder, just
Mm-hmm.
trying to separate themselves from the eating disorder. So I use that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Not so themselves and how they see the world versus how their eating disorder, just to differentiate it to you when I'm talking to clients. But
Mm-hmm.
I have clients where they are dating and their anxiety goes up because of how they are scared they're going to be perceived in their body and all these different things. So that they feel like, okay, I need to lose weight to go on this date and to attract the right person and all these other things that may affect them. So I'm not just talking about the eating and other thing, the eating in their bodies, but all the different facets from childhood history. Did they sit at the table with their parents, or were they left alone eating a TV dinner, or did their parents criticize them for how much they ate? Like all these different things that or criticize their bodies that made them feel or believe what they believe about their bodies. All these different things can play a part.
Okay. And um, the impact that a childhood might have, is there, let me say, if is there a generalist, or for example, for me it can be that I was eating alone, like you mentioned example, eating alone, eating TV dinner alone in front of the TV, or maybe, and for you it might be being criticized, or eating alone, being criticized, or not having food. Those are the things that can contribute to the eating disorder, if you understand what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, if I'm understanding what you're saying is, are those contributing factors that can lead to an eating disorder? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and also to add to it, okay, it's not my expertise, so I'm trying to come up
Oh,
with example to be able to ask the question. um okay, it might be a dumb thing, but for example, you are accustomed that you see clients that eating alone, being criticized about their body, not having food, those are the contributing factors. And then all of a sudden you meet somebody that, I'm just saying, was raised by dogs, can be, and then it turns out that that is a contribution. um is it individual specific,
yeah.
or
Go ahead.
yeah, or um yeah, I'm trying to figure out that, let's say if you have those 10 factors, that those 10, one of those or a few of those you have to see in people, or that there are individual that outside of those 10 factors, for example, something that can contribute that never came up before, for example.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, I understand what you're saying. So the way I assess, and because it's my specialty, I'm I'm able to ask different things. So I'm able to ask different things, but again, I don't even assess from the let's go down this long list of things. I could, but I actually first go to their relationship with food in general. So they could have ate a lovely meal with their family, but if they were bullied at school, or how they felt and saw food, is really what I'm getting to. I'm getting down to the root of their relationship with food and what feeling comes up with them around food. Are they able to listen to their body with hunger and fullness levels? Are they do they see it as a source of energy and they can enjoy the taste of food? I'm exploring when they eat in front of other people, how do they feel about themselves and those around them? So I'm asking more so around the feeling and what's happening. So even if they were raised by dogs and being around them, I'm asking them what, and if they could articulate it, like, well, I felt judged when I was around, or I wasn't eating enough. Well, I'm just throwing something
Yeah.
out there. But and it's like,
Mhm.
how do you feel about that? That can impact them. So I'm not we because just with mental health, we can go around. There's so many scenarios, right? I
Mhm.
don't go by the scenarios. I go by how they felt and what was the belief that um they hold
Mhm.
that encompass and dictates their behavior with food and their bodies.
Mhm.
Now, one of the biggest things that could be shocking, but it ties all in, is I actually ask clients a lot of the times when they first start meeting with me was, when was the
Mhm.
last time they felt safe?
Mm.
When's the last
Okay.
time they felt safe in their bodies? And they're usually like very surprised by that
Mhm.
question. And a lot of them say that they never felt safe. And
Okay.
I actually take that route because then we'll be able to get to certain things. And some feel safe, because ultimately, when it comes to eating disorders, disordered eating, it is a sense of control. If we're really looking at the basis of it, is control, is trying to regulate, or is trying to be comforted, whether it's comforting by
Mhm.
eating food and the taste, or comforting by I can control what my body looks like and I can restrict, and I'm trying to make myself small in those different ways. So clearly in both spaces, it's trying to feel safe and get some type of comfort somewhere and
Mhm.
emotions to be met.
Yeah, yeah. I like it that you try to use a holistic approach, and that is
Mhm.
not only to kind of like try to teach the person how to eat, and okay, you need to eat ABC and then
Oh,
everything
yeah.
will be okay. Yeah.
No, no, I don't no, we explore that, and that's more so on the dietitian, and I support them with that. But no, I don't tell them how to eat, but I do give them challenges on having variations of food and what's happening for
Mhm.
them when they are eating certain foods. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then when they come for treatment by you, is there a specific number or session that they have to follow, or is it again individual specific?
It is individual specific, but to be honest, if someone is coming to me for, depending on the severity, but for the most part, it is long term care, because depending on where they are and when they're coming to me, and if they're willing to do the work around it, yeah, it's usually long term care. One of the biggest things that I do tell my clients up front when they're meeting with me is um, that their body image is the last thing to go, in a sense of healing and making peace with that part of themselves,
Mhm.
because first it is the eating and being able to we know the stages of change, right? So getting to the place, okay, I am going to change and I am going to eat, and I'm going to eat what's good for my body, and listening to my body, all those things. But we have to deal with all the junk and the beliefs, and I mean it's a journey. That's, if you've
Mhm.
had a eating disorder for even 2 to 5 years, you're not going to be recovered or well in 3 sessions. So
Yeah.
it does take time, and I'm upfront with my clients about that. And it's definitely it's a daily thing. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I can imagine that once they come by you, they can they have an understanding that it might take a long time, or and like you said, it's a journey. However, do you get clients that feel like in, for example, 2 3 sessions, okay, this have to be done and let me move
yeah.
to the next one?
Yeah, I do, but honestly, usually it's those clients that needs to be hospitalized. And
Okay.
the, yeah, it's usually if they're that um if it's that bad, they usually are very sick clients, and
Mm,
I would need to refer them anyway, and I wouldn't be able to see them ethically in an outpatient setting. Once
okay.
a week would not be enough.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, because you said you only see outpatient clients, right?
I only see outpatient.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
What can be some of the strategies that you or the eating disorder therapist uses to kind of like break down the stigma about eating disorder, and especially in our community?
Honestly, educate, talking about relationship with food and what does that a healthy relationship with food looks like, and understanding those different things. A lot of times, instead of looking at your relationship with food, we're looking at the body and what the body is supposed to look like.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way I've stood in the gap, educating people, but also educating therapists, educating dietitians, fitness people in fitness or diet culture world, and then also even for myself and the way I live. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like all those various ways is how you show and be an example and
Mm-hmm.
like let it be known.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's very important to do, to yeah, to give the information out there, because
Hmm.
even if I look at here, we don't really talk about eating disorder. And to be honest, talking with you, I think after like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I was like, I wonder if that person might have it based on how we're talking now. I mean, it's not people that I work with, but yeah, that I kind of like see regularly in the community. But yes, and then you sit and wonder. But then yeah, we over here we don't really talk about it. It's not
Yeah.
something that
Mhm.
is very open. And yeah, so we don't have no eating disorder therapist. So yeah, it's uh it's something that have to, and especially because you mentioned in our community, it is eat your finish your plate, and how we see our body in relationship to, let me call it, other cultures. So yes,
Hmm.
yeah, it's
Well,
mm.
I do training, so if you ever want to bring me in, I'm ready to fly. I'll be ready. But no, it's so important to talk about. And I think as we are healing as people of color, and we're doing our own work, and we're being helpers and healers in the community, I think it's so important that we begin to do our own stuff, because I mean our
Mm-hmm.
community is hurting, and even ourselves hurting. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be where I am and do the work I do if I didn't do my own work around it. I mean, of course, the therapists have their own therapists. I have my own therapist,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had to do my own body work. I've never personally had an eating disorder, but I definitely didn't have the best relationship with food of understanding. My mom clean everything on your plate, and there's no portions. And I'm like, Mom, I think you put too big of a portions on our plate, and you tell us to eat it all. And so I
Yeah.
didn't realize till grad school I was like, I'm at restaurants, and restaurants, they could give us big portions here in the States, too large of a portions. And I realized one day I was full, but I was still eating. But my mom will always say, waste not, want not.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
being wasteful if I didn't finish all this, but I was stuffed. I was like, I gotta eat this because then I'm wasting it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I recognize those different things of like, oh, like, but you're hurting yourself trying to finish this food. It was too,
Mm-hmm.
too big of a portion, or even, and I'll give you this example. I actually had cousins that they weren't well taken care of, and when my mom took them in, they, again, we're looking at the ACE test of them not being taken care of and fed properly. When they came with us, they actually ate so much because they uh, uh, weren't fed consistently. They would
Mm-hmm.
eat so much to a point they would throw up because it
Yeah.
was they didn't know when they didn't know when their next meal was going to come from. So when they were with us, it was the same thing. I don't know when my next meal is going to come from. So they ate till they threw up, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that they're not in
Mm-hmm.
that space anymore. But that's another example of just trying to survive and not knowing or
Mm-hmm.
understanding.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, and even that, when you trying to educate the parents, it's even that is a challenge, because I
Hmm.
it's kind of like it goes from generation to generation, because you know better, you're trying to educate, you're trying to inform, but yeah, let me put it
Wait,
like, not everybody is there yet.
no, I was gonna ask you. You said because they know better. Who knows better?
No, no, no. As in, for example, you and me, we
Oh,
know
okay,
that
okay.
it can be different, and then you're trying to educate, you're
Oh,
trying to
yeah,
inform,
yeah.
but then the receiving end is not there yet to
Oh, yeah,
receive the
yeah.
information or do something with it.
Mhm.
So, because
Yeah.
indeed, yes, when you said about not knowing when your next meal comes, and then when you get meal, you keep on stuffing yourself and fooling yourself, even though you're already full. Yeah,
Mhm.
you,
Yeah,
I have been seeing it quite a bit over here. And then,
yeah,
yeah, it's kind of like a challenge to kind of like teach them and show them that, hey, in a short way said, it's not supposed to be like that, but hey,
yeah,
you keep on
yeah. And
you keep on sharing
go ahead. I'm sorry.
information. No, I said
Yeah,
you keep on sharing information till at one point, yeah, they understand it.
absolutely. And even when I'm sharing this, and for us, and whether you're if someone is in a impoverished area and they don't have the care and they don't have certain things, honestly, at the base is those. When we look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the basic physiological needs, and food and water is right at the base. So a lot of times, uh, when I'm thinking about treatment and eating disorders, for us, where we're like, but we don't even have this, or we don't have access to certain things, or okay, well, I mean, if we just have protein and rice, or and whatever, it's
Mhm.
we don't have vegetables, and this is what we have, so we have to eat what we have. And by the and so that's why, even while I'm not telling anyone like this is how you're supposed to eat, now there's guidance around that and how can you care for yourself. But at the end of the day, it's, do you feel guilt and shame after you eat? Do you feel, do you understand how much your body needs? All those different things. But those things that I feel like, because I'm a person of color, I can empathize and see those factors and
Mhm.
see where we can I can support and provide resources where they can be cared for at the base level so they can start to really heal and do other deeper work, so they can feel safe and care for themselves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And besides them caring for themselves and also for a care team to be around them when they start in treatment. Do you in one way or other involve the families and or the direct community as well?
So yes and no. It depends on the person. If they're an adult, of course, that's up to them and what that
Mm-hmm.
looks like. And I empower them that they would use assertiveness and ask for what they need and get that support. And for adults, a lot of them, I do encourage them to be a part of a group, specifically eating disorder group if possible. But
Mm-hmm.
for uh, those that are minors or underage or under their parents' roof, I do utilize I'm sorry, family based therapy, FBT, to involve the parents. A lot of times, like you said earlier, the parents don't know. And I sit down and I have family sessions with them. I educate them on it. Actually, I realized when clients come in, especially the minors, and this is all new to the parent is scared, they don't know what to do, they can't make the child eat, and telling them to eat is not helpful. If anything, it terrifies them even more. So I actually created a PDF for them to just kind of have a base on, okay, this is what eating disorder is, this is what it looks like, and so they can know and have that support and guidance from me as well. But I do meet with them for family sessions to support them, and they can all be on the same page as well. But it's
Okay.
very helpful to have a community of support, and it, depending on again the age, it's we get to determine what that may look like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you also encounter families that are kind of like, let me call it, against it, or thinking that okay, nothing is wrong with my child, so I don't have nothing to contribute to this? Mm, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually unfortunate because a lot of, for I would say five, 3 out of 5 people of color or families of
Hmm.
color, I'll say, the parents deny that the child has an eating disorder and doesn't get them the help.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, that I've experienced. They actually opted out and getting, and these are severe cases, and some um and I'm a believer, so depending on the client, I may integrate that if they need that um, faith based integration into their counseling or therapy work.
Mm-hmm.
But this specific client that chose not to get treatment, they feel like they can just pray it away, and it was very unfortunate they didn't get their daughter the help that she needed. And I've seen that quite a bit, or um, they felt like it wasn't a need, or they were scared to get the help because the parent felt like it was on them or it was their fault. So I
Mm-hmm.
saved them from the embarrassment. They tried other methods or ways, and
Mm-hmm.
cases are the saddest to me that I've experienced.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it so that the Justice Department can kind of like obligate them to do something? I mean, it's
So
because they are minors.
right, yeah, absolutely, yes, yes. So we, of course, our duty or mandated reporters. So yes, and also it's we have to leave it to them to then investigate and all those other things. But
Mm-hmm.
of course, if it's uh, knowing that it's us that's clearly like the negligence of getting the help they need, then they don't come back to us because they're like they
Yeah.
told on us. So that's the thing. But we definitely do our part when that does show up and happen.
Okay. Okay. And if it is a young person that has the eating disorder or alleged eating disorder, what can be the consequences for later down the line when they kind of like grown up? Are they able to even reach the older age, depending, I think, on which type of eating disorder they
Yeah,
have?
yeah. Depending on which one they have, they could not. for those that don't know, the eating disorder has the highest death rate when it comes to mental health, outside of overdose and drug abuse and all those other things. It has the highest death rate. Um, what you'll find is maybe on the report is actually cardiac arrest when actually it was their heart failed from not eating. But for the most part, when it comes to a child getting that support, um, I'm sorry, I forgot your question. I was on a roll. Say
Yes.
it again.
Yeah, no, I was asking that if a young person has an eating disorder, what can be the consequences later down
Oh,
the
yeah,
line, even with or without treatment?
yeah. Okay. So, of course, unfortunately, death, but overall, their growth can be stunted. Their brain function is not doing well. I mean, I've seen a client pass out while driving and got into a bad car accident. I they experience really their social life and really personal development suffers a lot. So there's a lot of different aspects, physically as well as psychologically and emotionally, that cause them to be in a lot of turmoil. I've seen also where um, their hair falls out, or they just simply aren't able to do day-to-day tasks because or playing sports, all these different, or just daily things that a child or a growing adult should be able to experience, and it
Mm-hmm.
prevents doing that.
Okay, okay. And then I can imagine in our culture it's kind of like a little higher than other culture because of not really getting the treatment and or having the resources to help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, and
Mm-hmm.
I will say, and the thing about it, it can mask it. The eating disorder mask it very well, or even disordered eating, or even recognizing it masks it very well. So it's, if I guess if I was to leave you all with anything, it would be, if you suspect someone has a poor relationship with food, I would definitely approach it with unhealthy relationship with food, or poor relationship with food, versus eating disorder. We don't want to label anything just yet, but the fact of, if you notice someone that, just being gentle of like, asking in a way of like, I'm concerned, and how do you feel about your relationship with food, and how you caring about your body. Now, again,
Mm-hmm.
it's up to them to get the help, especially if they're an adult, but ultimately being gentle and not saying just eat, or it's not that hard, or it's simple, and all these other things that can undermine and dismiss them, would cause them to be sink into more shame and judgment. But for the most part, it if, can affect us a lot, being things are already so stigmatized, and we're supposed to be the strong ones, and or we have this um, ever lingering thing of, I have to look like a certain way, otherwise I'm appeared as weak, or
Mm-hmm.
my faith based, or my Christians, or even Muslims, where well, God is, if I pray to God and He's gonna, fix this, then that's where I'm going to help me change this. And that's, you can have, God and therapy to get the support you
Yeah.
need, along with your community and loved ones, um,
Mm-hmm.
for that matter, because it's not
Yeah.
a one person fight.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct. Correct. And what can we do to create more resources and different type of help for when it comes to the eating disorder?
Yeah, honestly, I would start where, first off, for therapists or healing professionals. You have your own therapist, which, I mean, I will preach it forever, preach it to the mountaintops, that every professional, healing professional, have their own um, uh, someone in their own corner and doing their own work around these things. But secondly, is having trainings or for whether it's your staff, yourself, looking at CEUs, other ways to educate yourself on these topics because it is something that can, I guess, a depending on the client and culture, it could just be missed. So
Mhm.
understanding how to ask the right questions, and again, when you do your own work, you'll be able to really navigate certain things. So uh, you don't, I don't say get outwitted by the eating disorder, but in a sense,
Mhm.
being able to just support them in a healthy way and supportive
Yeah.
way.
Okay. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
I was gonna ask one last thing. The one of the biggest things, not only around doing your own work, is to check your own biases. Because honestly, when I first started, when I would hear, so even for myself, I mean, I've made mistakes, of course, along the way, and I would hear someone, I'm like, oh, well, I do that, or that's culturally, or even, I
Mhm.
mean, before, I remember a young lady, she was sharing how she eats, and I was like, oh yeah, that's what my family do. But and also the way, if a client is saying, yeah, I ate a full meal, we're thinking in our minds, oh, the full meal that I would eat. But in their minds, a full meal could be uh a granola bar and a half of a yogurt, and they would call that
Mm.
a full meal. So again, knowing how to navigate through the various things that they say, and what their mind of healthy or a full whatever is, could be very different. So
Yeah.
again, see what I was saying, checking your biases, understanding your biases, your own relationship with your food and body, doing your own work around it, and then also getting trained in CEUs and see where yeah you can get support or consultation around that area for your community.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Okay. Yeah. We have to keep on educating ourselves, especially because every time, um, maybe in our eyes it's something new, even though it have been existing for a long time, but maybe no names was given to it or it wasn't prevalent. But yeah,
Mhm.
keep on
Mhm.
educating ourselves of everything that's coming up, so we know as well how to, like you say, recognize, help, and guide. And so
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, Jessica, we have been talking here for an hour. It was really interesting.
Yeah,
And
thank you for having me.
you thank you for sharing all this information with us, so we can continue informing and educating the public and the community. So before we go, is there anything that you would want to share with us?
Yeah, the thing is, just be gentle with yourself, be curious and compassionate toward yourself as you're going on your healing journey, whether it's with your relationship with your body, food, or even yourself, because there's always a lot to learn and grow from. So that's the only thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much. And
Yeah.
audience as well, thank you for sharing your time here with us. And as always, even after when you see it again, you have any questions, we can always send it to Jessica. We can help you on your way. So thank you. Enjoy the rest of the evening, the day, whichever time zone you are. Enjoy the weekend and have an excellent and great week.
Yeah.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.